As well as battling unions, the Baillieu government is under attack from its traditional support base, the business community. Victoria's Peak Business Group and prominent businesswoman Elizabeth Proust have both slammed the government for failing to build infrastructure. The Premier declined our invitation to respond, but I did speak to Deputy Premier Peter Ryan yesterday about the economy, including the added cost of flood damage. Peter Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
You've been inspecting the flood damage. Last year's bill cost the taxpayers about $700 million. Will it be about that this time round?
I don't think so. It's too early to have any precision about the figures, but I don't think that the scale of the damage, given the area that's been directly affected this time, is nearly as substantial geographically, and therefore I think it'll be less, far less, but to the extent of it with precision we won't know until the impact assessment teams have done their work, and that probably won't be now for a few, well, 2 or 3 weeks at least.
Far less is still significant. You're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, aren't you?
Well, not necessarily, because
much?
As I'm just saying, it's just impossible to say at the present time. What we do know is that, for example, we have 90,000 hectares of rural land underwater out there. About 130 roads are still closed. There is going to be damage to local government assets, in particular roads and bridges, but we just need to wait until the water fades a little and we see the problems literally surface. But my sense of it, and that of the municipalities, is that it will not be anywhere near what it was last year.
What about the Numurkah Hospital?
Numurkah Hospital, which I walked through yesterday, I think that the work that is being done there is excellent. I would hope that we're able to recover that facility and have it back in operation. We are ensuring that we have as many services as possible being made available to the health service for the purpose of being able to have the local general practitioners continue their excellent care. So we're hopeful, very hopeful, of being able to have that back and operating again sooner than later.
Many farms and businesses have suffered extreme losses though in this flood, on top of numerous job losses across the state, but particularly in the Goulburn Valley region. What are you doing to help counteract those job losses?
Well, first, I don't think they're related issues.
But they come at the same time to the same area.
Well, they come at the same time. They're not related issues. As to the first, we now have the clean-up and recovery grants of up to $25,000 for all small businesses that are directly affected by the floods, for the not-for-profit sector and for those farming communities. And secondly, there are low-interest loans of up to $200,000 similarly available for those communities, and so those forms of assistance are immediately available. On the broader issue of jobs, through the operation of our Regional Growth Fund, we've had a lot of success in creating employment throughout regional Victoria. We intend to continue to apply the benefits of that fund, and we will make sure we do everything we possibly can to grow employment in those important regions.
What about that specific area, the Goulburn Valley, where we have seen hundreds of jobs lost through local manufacturing factories such as SPC, Ardmona? What are you doing specifically to help that area? Well,
for example, at Gagari, where 140 jobs were unfortunately lost as a result of the Heinz closure, some of those jobs, a few of them only, went to Echuca, but Heinz has invested another $5 million in its facilities at Echuca. It is looking to maintain its workforce there. In addition to that, it has a headquarters in Melbourne of 90 people. It has a facility out in Mill Park of 110 people.
But none of that is the state government.
Well, you can't have it both ways though, Josie. You can't be saying to us we're suffering these job losses and what are we doing? And on the other hand, I'm pleased to say these companies have a substantial ongoing presence here in Victoria, and that's often lost in this whole discussion.
But do you have any specific plan to help address the job losses for that region?
We have a specific plan around the use of the Regional Growth Fund, which sees, for example, the creation of another 105 jobs at Hazeldene's over in Bendigo. It's seen announcements that we have made up at Tangambalanga, as I did last year, about the growth of Murray Goulburn's facilities up there. There are a lot of instances where we are putting the money into the development of these facilities to make sure that we continue to grow jobs.
Is it working? Since you came to office, 16,000 full-time regional jobs have been lost.
Well, since we came to office, through the use of the Regional Growth Fund, we have been able to leverage more than $700 million in investment. We have been able to create directly more than 1,000 jobs, new jobs, over the course of this last 12 months or thereabouts. We are ensuring, therefore, that as best we possibly can, we continue to cope with those international influences, the high dollar and the like. And remember, last year, out of Victoria, there were $8.1 billion worth of exports of food and fibre, by far a record record, the highest ever. So I think it's important to talk these issues up as opposed to talking them down, as some want to do.
There has indeed been a lot of criticism about inaction from the coalition, with people saying it's too slow to address job losses. As Deputy Premier and as Leader of the Nationals, are you happy with the pace of government?
We are very happy to be providing the government to Victoria, which we promised to undertake. So we said that we would provide stable, consistent government for Victoria. We would run the budget accordingly. We would run the budget accordingly. We would run the budget according to the prevailing influences that we have around us, swirling around us now. We would do that despite the fact of the billions that were squandered by the Labor Party when they were in government, despite the international influences we face, despite the fact of a collapse in some of our funding sources, not the least of those being from the Commonwealth. We are managing the economy appropriate to the times, and indeed what we are doing is running this state just as people run their households or run their business, big or small. We're running it to accommodate the times that we face.
Voters may be turning against Ted Baillieu. At least a poll this week found that his popularity has plummeted. Do you think he is the man to lead the coalition?
Ted Baillieu is doing a magnificent job as the Premier of this state. In times of a nature that the state has not faced perhaps ever before, certainly not in recent times, he is leading this state magnificently. He will continue to do so. And while this commentary is around about the purported loss of faith in his leadership, the fact is that, as these polls are demonstrating, we are as a government being supported. We recognise the polls come and they go, but to be trying to paint some sort of a picture that our position is in difficulty in the public eye at the moment is simply a fallacy. It is just obviously not the case.
Peter Ryan, thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure.